Welcome to Hickstead on a lovely sunny June day. It's great to have you here, Tina Cook, who I know has been involved with not only eventing but comes from very much a racing background, and that is why we are here to put over a few ideas of how you can deal with that nice horse that you picked up from a trainer's yard, from the sales ring that comes out of racing, and turn it round and make it into a riding horse that you can have a lot of fun with. Tina, you like thoroughbred horses like myself. When you get them out of training, anything particular you think about the first time you get in contact with them?
Yes, there are so many beautiful racehorses out there that are not successful on the racing track that you can go and take them into a competition horse, but we have to remember they're used to being, in general, in a pack with a crowd of other horses. You're then taking them away from that atmosphere and treat them with respect. Whatever age they are, whether they're a youngster or whether they're 10, 12 years old, treat them as if you're breaking them in for the first time, give them time, and don't expect them to be a horse that's ready-made. And I think that's where a lot of people make the mistake.
I totally agree with that. I mean, in the end of the day, a horse is a horse, and these horses come from an environment which might be different to what you are building them up to. I think very important there that you come in with common sense and that you look at the animal and see how they are reacting to what you're doing, even if you don't know yourself what environment they come from in racing, because it is different. You've got light riders riding very, very short in a small saddle. So you say they go out in a pack. Often with a racehorse, picking up the reins means going faster. Yeah. And from our point of view, we pick up the reins, we want them to slow down, hopefully. Yeah, exactly. So there are a few areas which we need to address here when we start out with these horses. You get the horse home, you have it in the stable. Small thing, the first morning you muck out, possibly tie the horse up, because that's what they're used to in racing, rather than just leaving them leaning out over the wheelbarrow, and they might get curious and want to have a wander around our new place and our new home. When you tack them up, advisable again to tack them up in the stable, have them tied up, and if you put boots on them, some of the flat horses in particular might not used to having boots on, they might not be used to a bigger saddle, etc. So you just give them a little bit of time when you are dealing with them that first morning, and study what they are doing, how they're sweating up, are they being a bit jumpy, and so on and so forth. And the other thing is that they might not have been doing too much exercise lately, because you know it from your own brother, when a horse, they have made a decision, this horse is not suitable for racing, what usually happens?
Well, quite often exactly that. The owners that have owned these horses have now decided that they don't want to be a racehorse anymore. The horses, you're winding them down a bit, but we have to remember they've been very, very fit athletes on a very, very high powered feed. So the horses there are highly strung and their work has been cut down, so they can be very fresh. The other main thing to remember is that these horses really go in a lorry and they go racing. So they've gone to the races, and the other thing is we have usually only got our hands on them now to make them into a competition horse because they failed as a racehorse. So they've gone in the lorry, they've gone racing, they haven't enjoyed the experience, and so they can be highly strung because they're worried, not because they're necessarily being naughty. And so that's where the horses have got to learn to have trust in you that you're not going racing and that it's not a problem, and that you learn to bond with your horse more than anything else.
So you just want to make sure that when you do take the horse out, you've got proper equipment to lead it out with. Rather than just putting the foot in the stirrup and think that you're away, the horse might be fresh. You might want to get rid of that freshness either through a little bit of lunching, or if you have a good place to turn them out in your arena or in the field even.
Actually, Yogi, with a lot of horses you have to be very, very careful, because some of them, especially if they're young, they might not have been out in the field for a few years.
Very true.
You know, if they've been broken in as a yearling, the trainers wouldn't risk with the valuable horses to be able to put them out. So they might want to go mad when they're going out. So I would advise, if you've got a small school, sand school, where they won't do much damage to themselves, perfect. But if you haven't, maybe ask the advice of a vet to maybe give them a little bit of sedative. just a small amount, just so that they don't go galloping around the field and injure themselves or yourself when you're taking them there. So everything can just be introduced very slowly. That's not to say that these horses are always going to be mad, but they just have had such a culture change that things need to be introduced in a quiet, kind way.
I totally agree, and I think that's very, very sound advice, particularly if you do want to turn it out with your old trusted companion, because they don't know each other, and you have to take into consideration that they are new, and you certainly don't want your old family friend to be kicked around the field by the newcomer.
Also, actually, something that I find very useful is once they've learnt and calmed down and gone out, possibly leave them out. As long as you haven't got then too much grass, that they're going to get too much grass. I think with anything with racehorses, you've just got to be sensible and practical about it. But from a horse's mental point of view, if they've taken to going out well and you've got suitable grazing for them, to actually ride them from the field when the weather's good is not a bad thing.